This is higher than the average in the U.S. It's higher than the average is 74%. And many people in Santa Barbara don't realize that. And so part of Pueblo's mission, it's actually three-part. It's educational, civic engagement, and grassroots organizing. And this theater project speaks to all three of those.
Maybe, Ben, can you give me some examples of what kind of topics or what kind of issues would be used in this theater project?
Absolutely. We are dealing with, well, we have actors who have substance abuse issues and have gotten in treatment because of altercations with the law, or in my case, I was just hospitalized because, well, I have a diagnosis, so I'm lucky that I wasn't hospitalized and then carried. It didn't carry over into like, well, the law. I didn't get the law I didn't get on the wrong side of the law.
I actually have a family member that was dealing with the issue of Alzheimer's in their family. And because the way Alzheimer's work, this person, of course, was refusing to take their meds, and they were getting, worse and worse. And talking about someone that was 80 years old and becoming violent and taking it out on their main care provider, who is their wife. They've been married for 50 years. He was taken to jail for becoming violent through not taking his meds, and of course was not given access to meds when he was in jail. So there his Alzheimer's got even worse. So when we're talking about mental health, we could be talking about an extreme from depression to Alzheimer's to schizophrenia to such a huge spectrum. And it's so important, your work that you're doing in educating the community, all the different components to that, and challenging people to look at things from a different perspective. And I know that you and I have been talking about preventative measures as opposed to being in jail and the cost of being in jail. Did you want to expand a little bit on that?
Yes, of course. Well, that's what Families Act stands for. It's Families Advocating for Compassionate Treatment. We definitely believe that there are alternatives to incarcerating our mentally ill or drug consumers. And jail only exacerbates these issues instead of really bringing a real treatment to it. It's costing a lot more. It's not being cost effective, and then we have all this recidivism problem. People go in and out of jail, and eventually, some of our cases, people go in jail. They don't receive their medication. They're under. They should be under meds. They go into jail. They don't receive their proper medication. Then they become dysregulated, and eventually might become violent and hit a word. So all of a sudden they end up facing 6 to 8 years because, well, they shouldn't have been there in the first place. So yes, we definitely think that we should advocate for changes in the system. But in order for those to take place, we have to really go and wake up our communities. And because if we are not able to reach out our community really around these issues, it's going to be very hard for the changes in the system to really take place.
So you mentioned to me that there were two components to this project. There was Awake and Desperta.
Exactly.
Can you give us a little bit more information on both groups?
Well, yeah, we originally thought of creating two components, the English-speaking component, Wake Up, and the Spanish-speaking component, Despierta. Well, naturally, Wake Up has around a 3-month head start. And then Despierta started building up. It was originally meant to be Spanish-speaking. We are now thinking about it as a bilingual approach, so that we can reach out to the Spanish-speaking community, but we can also reach out to a larger community. Wake Up is focusing a lot on the diagnosis part of it, on the stigma side of mental illness or substance consumption. It's a very healing and powerful process, but it's more focusing more on the diagnosis part of it. While Despierta is going to be more political. It's brought up Pueblo into it, and it's more of a radical political thing. I think that both of them are very, very powerful and interesting in themselves, and they eventually can complement each other.
So are all of you actors in Despierta, or are all of you actors? Are you cross training, or because I know you mentioned that you were all acting in it, which I think is fabulous. So,
well, Wake Up has the very interest component of having, as Ben was explaining, it has the mentally ill people. Some of them mentally ill are really performing either in skits or doing some monologue testimonials. Either mentally ill people or people who are directly related to mentally ill people.
Like families.
Like families, exactly. Sons of, the mother of, or, you know. So in that essence, it's very powerful. While in Despierta, we also have some people related to these issues, but also we have community activists, or we have persons like Barbara who is bringing up, you know, her background, her baggage, and putting it to work into this group, and so
it's good to have baggage and be involved.
We all do.
Yeah, our own baggage, our own personal baggage it's what really brings the spice to it.
So my focus is on Despierta right now, only because there's only so many hours in a day, but I think they're both very important for the community as a whole.
Great.
And Wake Up Theater is pretty much ready to go. I mean, we're polishing our scripts. There's a lot of truth that's coming through in the acting and the parts that we play, and so I mean there is kind of this management of that, the truth coming out through theater.
And you had mentioned that you're acting in Wake Up, correct?
Yes.
And you're a character actor?
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit about that?
I have traditionally not taken on large roles, but rather small roles where I pay obsessive attention to my parts. I wouldn't say that I'm. I don't have a big part, but I make it my own, and I don't memorize long things like some actors, but still, I've become more comfortable with the kind of roles that people naturally assign to me, and they tend to be smaller roles. I mean, for instance, my background in mental illness doesn't mean that I necessarily have the same perspective as the characters I play that are homeless or doctors or prescribing meds or imprisoned people just out of jail, but I do have a part to play nonetheless, because there's the stigma of being mentally ill and the stigma of having served time in prison they're comparable. I think there's a
Okay, great. So how will you when are you planning on implementing these theater projects? And I mean, have you already outlined where in Santa Barbara you're going to do this, or is that still being discussed?
Well, Wake Up is about, as Ben was saying, it's about to go out. We know for a fact that May 21st is going to be our opening night. Okay. We're still working on the precise location, and we'll let you know through email bombarding, and we'll try to go and to printed media and stuff. But yes, we're about to go on May 21st. About Despierta, we're planning on having this ready by the summer.